Thank the gentleman. Now recognize the lady that represents Gainesville, Florida, home of the University of Florida Fighting Gators. You're recognized for 5 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and as always, it is great to be a Florida Gator. Trey knows what we're talking about. Sorry, FSU, I know you hate that. But this is a great day. Regardless, I think we're going to see some great bipartisan work done in the way of addressing this issue that I think should have been addressed a while ago. I think the cat's a little bit out of the bag. Back in 21, when states started putting the patchwork framework together, it kind of made a bit of a mess for us on this side of it, but we are here now. So I'm going to start with you, Ms. Mudge. Should NIL contracts be permitted when a student-athlete sport is in season? Or should there be a balanced approach in how NIL rules are applied when a student-athlete is in or out of season?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Thank you. It's a Gator.
I would say that NIL contracts should be permitted in season. I think it's a very individualistic approach, as I have teammates that don't want to benefit from NIL and don't want to pursue certain opportunities, and I have teammates that do, and I think that's the freedom of NIL, is that we can choose. I personally don't feel too stressed during season to go forward with NIL contracts, and if I do, the companies that I've been able to talk with have been very, very lenient and very helpful in understanding my schedule. So I personally don't think that there should be certain times when NIL can and can't happen for athletes, just because of the freedom that we have the control to choose if we want to do a deal or not.
Thank you, Mr. Burton. Same question to you.
No, not at all. I mean, what happens if I score, 5 or 6 touchdowns in the game, and the next day someone wants to give me an NIL deal? So I don't think, by no means do I think there should be a limit on when or how or anything like that on NIL. The players should be able to make as much money as they possibly can from that standpoint.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Abdullah, same question to you from the university perspective.
Excuse me, ma'am, would you mind repeating the question?
Should student athletes be able to engage in NIL deals during their season or not?
I believe so. I believe that student athletes shouldn't have any restrictions on their ability to generate NIL dollars.
Okay, excellent. Mr. Chun, you described your extensive work with several of the NCAA committees, including the Transformation Committee. You briefly touch on the issues with a potential employer-employee situation regarding the student athletes. And I wanted to know, did you guys touch on any of the revenue sharing models, the impact that would have if it were applied to all sports? If so, did you simulate what specific actions, if any, athletic departments would take in order to comply with the type of model?
We did not.
Wow, that was the shortest answer ever. All right, thanks. This one's for you, Ms. Heppel, and also to you, Mr. Chun. Should there be an office or a clearinghouse specifically within either schools, conferences, or the NCAA to review and validate companies or individuals, not necessarily contract details, but those that seek to partner with student athletes for an NIL deal? We'll start with you, Ms. Heppel.
I think that's a great question, and I think it's something I've thought a lot about. I think the importance of ensuring student athletes understand what their fair market value is and ensuring that they are entering into legitimate deals are the two paramount issues.
Absolutely. Mr. Chun?
Nothing to add. I agree with that. The clarity that student athletes would get from understanding the market. And I think someone mentioned earlier, just seeing what also is appropriate to have with your attorneys or agents that are representing you from a commission standpoint. Those are critical factors for our student athletes.
Excellent. Going back to you, Ms. Heppel, according to the NCAA, over 20,000 international students compete in collegiate athletics. These athletes are precluded from engaging in NIL activities because of what that would mean for their visa status and employment status. What steps can Congress take to allow for these athletes to take advantage of these same types of opportunities that are available to their peers? And what would we expect the impact to be on the athletic programs within the universities?
you know, I'm not an immigration lawyer, and I think that's where some of this has been hung up. From a pure, as a commissioner of an athletics conference with schools that recruit nationally and internationally, I don't differentiate. And we don't differentiate on our campuses. All student athletes should ideally have access to NIL opportunities.
From the nodding of everyone's heads, I feel like everyone's in agreement on that. All right, excellent. And since I've got, well, I'm 7 seconds over, with that, I guess, Mr. Chairman, I yield back, and of course, go Gators.